Hello and welcome back to live coverage of the Apex Gaming $2,000 Pioneer Open AIQ and RCQ. I'm Tandy, joined by Ross Merriam. Say hi, Ross.
Hi, Ross.
We got 2 rounds in the books. The last round, we actually watched a player piloting what I would consider to be one of the coolest decks in the format, Grinning Ignus combo, able to easily dismantle the green-white Angels player due to a lack of interaction. We decided we're going to make them play on camera again and see if they can beat a deck that's playing Fatal Push. Ross, tell us about it.
Yeah, Daniel Ash this round going to be playing against Guide Johnson on Mono Black Midrange. This is a Mono Black Midrange deck, though, that's a little different than most, playing a lot of ways to restrict the resources in the game. 4 Liliana of the Veil, as well as 2 copies of Davriel. Also has 3 copies of Demogorgon's Clutches, a sort of,
I had to Google that one.
Yeah, yes. Sort of a cross between Mind Rot and Blightning. And so really hammers the hand of his opponent. And that's an interesting, aspect to this match, because normally the Grinning Ignus in the combo, you hold until the very end.
Right.
So that could potentially get discarded by those Mind Rots and all of these effects from the Mono Black Midrange deck. Also, Rankle, Master of Pranks, can start reducing the cards in each player's hand. So, this should be a much more difficult matchup for Daniel Ash to navigate. It'll be interesting to see if he has to, move away from the combo, play more of a mid-range game, or if he's able to power through all of this discard and combo anyway.
Alrighty, well, let's head on down to the feature match area, and we'll see who takes it down between the Grinning Ignus combo and Mono Black Midrange. Both unique decks, and should be a fun one. See who's on the play. Looks like Mono Black's going to be on the play. All right, Lango, Daniel Ash. What do you got? Turn 1. Just a stomping ground. No acceleration, no play on turn 1 for either player.
What land is that? A Cabal Stronghold?
I was hoping that you would just say what it was, because
There's 1 copy of Cabal Stronghold, but is Cabal Stronghold a swamp? Or is that an Urborg?
I'm just gonna assume that it's a swamp of some kind. Neither player with a play on turn 1 or turn 2. The Dead Marches, that's the backside of Urborg Team Yawgmoth. That's a new printing from Lord of the Rings. Thank God for our director having our back on this one. All the alternate art stuff, I'm not gonna be mad about it anymore. I think I'm just gonna hope that my people I'm watching are just doing it right.
I'm gonna be mad about it until I die of an ulcer at 37.
I'm already 37 and have ulcers. I'm just kidding. Hazoret's Monument coming down. Not one that many people have played against, more than likely. Guide Johnson taking a peek.
Now, this to me is one of the most important cards in the matchup for Daniel Ash. Not only is it one of his better combo pieces,
but
it's very difficult to interact with for the Mono Black deck. So, turn 3 Hazoret's Monument, an excellent play for Daniel Ash, even if he started this game rather slow with none of those mana creatures that we saw in the Angels matchup last round.
All right, well, Guide Johnson just going to go ahead and use a Field of Ruin on the end step to get another swamp into play, blow up maybe one of the green or blue sources by hitting the Hinterland Harbor. We're going to go back to Guide Johnson's way. Going to untap, potential to play a 4-drop here. Looks like it picked up Thoughtseize for the turn. We'll see how they want to sequence. There it comes, Thoughtseize you.
Just the 14th different Art of Thoughtseize we've seen today.
All right, let it go, Russ. Hand of 3 Grinning Ignus, Risen Reef, and Eldritch Evolution, as well as land number 4. And Guy Johnson going to go ahead and take the Risen Reef, and that's going to potentially take the wind out of the sails of Daniel Ash.
So I think we could easily just see a Grinning Ignus get cast, on this next turn to try to set up the Eldritch Evolution. Well, there's a...
I think we can go infinite this turn. So the Runaway Seamkin is a pretty big pickup. It only costs 1 mana, and it lets us loot away one of the 3 Grinning Ignus. Guy Johnson definitely going to have a removal spell for something here. We're going to discard the 3rd Grinning Ignus, pick up Prosperous Innkeeper. That can let us gain infinite life this turn if we sequence things correctly.
Yeah.
So the Ignus only costs 2, so you can leave a green mana up.
Because you need the red to activate it.
All right, so we're gonna end Keeper first, and now we'll see if Guy Johnson has anything he wants to play in response here. The Runaway Steamkin is not getting there yet.
Getting really aggressive, discarding the another Ignus, only leaving himself the one. But now we can't. Now we can't combo.
Well, no, we can spend 2 for the Grinning Ignus and loot. Oh, you're right. You're right. So
We don't have the mana to activate. So the Prosperous Innkeeper puts us in a much more precarious spot.
Okay, well, we're essentially tapped out. We've already played a land. We get to gain a life. We get to put a runaway Steamkin counter, and we also get to rummage with the Hazardous Monument.
But now our Grinning Ignus is just naked.
Okay, runaway Steamkin down from Fatal Push. We're back Guy Johnson's way. Let's see if he has an answer for the Ignus.
That's another Fatal Push off the top, it looks like.
Ooh, and a Field of Ruin is the pickup, so could go Field of Ruin you into Fatal Push. Instead, gonna go for a big Shieldred, the mommy.
So Shieldred does limit Daniel's ability to, go through his deck with the Hazoret's Monument.
4th Ignus picked up. So now we have the ability to, with the Monument, to literally just go Ignus my whole deck. We can only do that about 8 or 9 times before we die to the Shieldred.
But we're gaining 1 life each time as well with the Innkeeper.
We also have Eldritch Evolution, so we might can just find the kill here. We know that Guy Johnson has Fatal Push in hand. Maybe we should have cast that on the Prosperous Innkeeper, thanks to the knowledge of the Eldritch Evolution, right?
Oh, so this is a little awkward for Daniel Ash, because he's going to need to answer the Shieldred before he kills Guy Johnson, and that's going to turn on Revolt for the Fatal Push. So say if we got Defiler Instinct with the Eldritch Evolution, then we could Defiler, deal the first 5 damage to the Shieldred, and then start killing Guide, but then you can just kill the Defiler.
Okay, so we're using it to just gain a bunch of life here, it seems like. So we can play the Ignus a bunch of times, but we're not actually gaining red mana in the sequence. We're gaining a colorless mana, and so we are slightly limited by that. And now we're gonna Eldritch Evolution away the Ignus. Interesting, since I guess he picked up the 4th Grinning Ignus. This is going to be slightly vulnerable to the Fatal Push. Oh no, we still don't have Revolt on Guy Johnson's side, so maybe we're dead. We have a colorless. We can, if we get oh, the 4-drop. There it is.
Defiler of Instinct.
Defiler of Instinct. So that one makes a red whenever we play a card too, right? So now we have infinite damage, I believe.
I'll bring that one up on the screen for y'all.
All right, so whenever additional cost to cast a red permanent, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost red less to cast for paid life this way. So the first one,
okay. So now we have colorless floating. We can pay 2 life for the red part of Ignus, use the colorless floating, and it costs 1 less for the Hazoret's Monument. And now we still have the red up to return it.
Right, and so we can essentially sequence that so that we pay a life on 1 time, and then we pay the mana on the 2nd time, and we gain 2 life in the sequence, so it should be infinite. Although here's Fatal Push going to come in and blow up the Prosperous Innkeeper. I'm not sure if that stops the combo though.
Yeah, we didn't we actually don't have to kill the Shieldred because the Hazoret's Monument we can decline.
Right.
So yeah, we just have to set up the full combo, and then now we just loop the Grinning Ignus.
Yep, and it costs 1 less colorless from the Hazoret's Monument, so we just go, we send a red to bounce it, and it costs red and 1 to play it, and then each time we do that iteration, we deal damage, and the Innkeeper gains us a life, and then every other time we can use the Defiler to pay a 2 life instead of the red mana to actually gain the red mana to keep casting the Ignus. I believe that's it.
So I think we have found the kill. Guy Johnson, maybe overvaluing the Shieldred. If he had left up the Field of Ruin, he could break this up by answering the Defiler with that Fatal Push. So maybe just a little bit of infamiliarity with the combo, which honestly I can relate to.
Yeah, same. I mean, I'm reading all the cards and I'm barely understanding what's happening. So I'm sure Daniel Ash knows exactly what's happening, and he explains it to his opponent, and Guy Johnson packs it in.
Yeah.
And that's 1-0.
And that was a win through several pieces of removal, a Thoughtseize, and a little bit of pressure from the Shieldred, and sloughed it off. Awkwardly drew all 4 Grinning Ignuses.
Yeah, but when you have the Hazoret's Monument being able to turn dead land, dead cards or whatever, Hazardous Monument means that no card in your hand is bad, right? Because if you have the Ignus with it, you just essentially go down a mana to do one iteration of the Grinning Ignus, and that lets you, you know, just like loot away your hand. And with the Hazoret, you actually just gain a colorless mana for spending a red. You just need one way to get red back somehow.
Okay, now looking at Guy Johnson's sideboard, we have 1 copy of the Meat Hook Massacre, 2 Phyrexian Obliterator, 2 Liliana the Last Hope, 2 Pithing Needle, 2 Necromentia, 2 Cut Down, 2 Shieldred's Edict, and 2 Liliana's Triumph. I like the Liliana the Last Hopes against a heavy mana creature deck. Just stifling their mana, you know, killing Prosperous Innkeepers, and then bringing back your own creatures can be effective. We noted this in the last matchup. Pithing Needle does not stop Grinning Ignus. This is a mana ability, so hopefully Guide knows that, does not bring those in. Necromentia, however, taking those Grinning Ignuses, I mentioned how, you know, you like to have them in the hand so you don't lose them to removal spells. Well, if you keep them in your hand, they're vulnerable to Necromentia, so definitely like those. The cut downs are the, you know, the questionable card for me. Like Liliana, it kills those early creatures.
Yep.
It kills, you know, the one of win condition, but doesn't kill Defiler, doesn't kill Burgy.
Yeah, not killing Burgy is a big deal.
You never get a chance to kill Ignus, so I'm not sure if that does enough, but this is a mana creature deck. You'd like to have lots of 1 mana answers to those mana creatures.
Yeah, Risen Reef is a big part of the like grindy package of the Grinning deck as well, and that one gets chewed up by Liliana and Cut Down. So I think Cut Down has enough targets, but it can certainly be a little awkward. But it's awkward in the same way Fatal Push is awkward without Revolt. I mean, we had Fatal Push right there, and it just didn't do enough. So
yeah, Witty Roastmaster and potentially Runaway Steamkin as well. So yeah, that's probably enough. Looking at Daniel Ash's sideboard, we have 3 Abrade, 2 Cemetery Prowler, 2 Nissa Steward of Elements, 2 Outland Liberator, 2 Rending Volley, 2 Scavenging Ooze, and 2 Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Gotta like the Safekeepings to protect your creatures, and I kind of like just bringing in bigger creatures to be able to play more of a fair game. So I like the Prowlers, and I like the Nissas.
Yeah, seems great. All right, players are shuffling up here for game number 2. Guy Johnson going to be on the play with Mono Black Midrange is going to take a mulligan. Daniel Ash likes his 7-card opener. And Guy Johnson about to go down to 6 and take a peek. We'll see if it's keepable. Now, the Grinning Ignus combo deck, so far, we've watched it win every game we've had it on camera. And the combo seemed pretty strong. I'm curious if the deck is perhaps a bit stronger than any of us originally gave it credit for, or maybe Daniel Ash has found a really nice build.
The fact that one of your combo pieces in Hazoret's Monument also lets you dig through your deck and give you consistency alongside Collecting Company that's doing that, which then also gives you resiliency, is really important. So, you know, your ability to play through your opponent's disruption is baked into the structure of the deck.
All right, that is a Cabal Stronghold from Guy Johnson. I believe that only taps for colorless mana for a little while, so not the best land to start off with. I saw Castle Lackthwain in Guy Johnson's hand too, was maybe thinking that would come down on turn 1 tapped. Let's see if Guy Johnson has an answer for the Llanowar Elf. Does not. I'm going to go back to Daniel Ash, and maybe we can accelerate underneath the interaction from Guy Johnson.
And so a very slow draw here from Guy. No interaction for the Elf, no threat of his own in the early turns. That is going to be it's going to be an uphill climb at this point.
Okay, Prosperous Innkeeper is the play for Daniel Ash and an attack for 1. We're going to go back Guy Johnson's way.
See if we have one of those sideboard Liliana the Last Hopes.
Ooh, no, that would be nice.
We don't have that, but we have another 3-mana sideboard card.
There's a Liliana right off the top.
We also have Necromentia.
Okay.
I think I would go for the Liliana first. I think you've got time to Necromentia. I'd rather just deal with the Elf.
Well, let's see if Guy Johnson agrees with you. Now, the one thing about Necromentia, it makes zombies, right? And so if you're behind on board and you Necromentia and they actually hit things out of your opponent's hand, you actually just create extra pressure to potentially beat you down in the meantime. So we'll see if Guy Johnson doesn't cast either, has Murderous Rider, maybe going to plan to use that on the end step to kill one of the larger creatures. I know I saw in Daniel Ash's hand, he had one of the Defilers of Instinct.
Yeah, that would be a very good target, but if Daniel Ash has a Collecting Company and just says, attack with Prosperous Innkeeper, play a land, pass the turn, then this plan looks awful.
I'm in danger. All right, Daniel Ash contemplating his turn, has Stomping Ground, a couple lands, Elf, Defiler. If he goes Stomping Ground, Defiler, It'll be an okay sequence, but Guy Johnson does have the answer ready. Doesn't have Coco. Gonna go ahead and slam the 4-drop. Here it is, Defiler. Gonna gain a life.
Guy getting paid off for holding up this not cut down, but swift end.
Yep. And instead of attacking for 1, okay, I thought he was maybe just passing turn, but he's like, I wonder if there's any flash creatures over there. I guess not. And Prosperous Innkeeper comes in for 1. Guy Johnson down to 18, and Swift End will put him down to 16 after he blows up this Defiler.
Not a lot of mono black flash creatures in Magic, but I'm sure there are some.
All right. I know there's a couple. I know it's the Ebon Dragon, or there's some 4-mana 5/2 flash dragon. It's like a skeletal dragon. Yeah. All right. Here is land number 4 for Guy Johnson. Let's see if he has a big play.
I know he's got some good plays. See if he decides to make one or just casts a Murderous Rider.
3 mana.
Still thinking between Necromancer and Liliana.
Here's the Liliana. Now, is this Liliana the Veil, or is this Liliana the -2/-1's a creature? Because if it's an Edict effect, it's not very strong. But if it's the one from Shadows over Innistrad, it's quite strong here.
It looks like Liliana of the Veil.
Okay, so we're going to go down to 1 in Edict, and the easy sacrifice of the Llanowar Elves, it looks like, from Daniel Ash. I thought the Innkeeper was going to hit the bricks.
He's got another Elf in hand and another land, so I think he's got plenty of mana, but Innkeeper can be a sort of pseudo combo piece in the deck, because I don't think Guy Johnson can beat Infinite Life.
All right, well, we have Monument, and we have a red card that kind of looks like a Grinning Ignus. Can we go off this turn?
Oh, because you'd have to tap out for the Ignus. You wouldn't have the red to keep looping.
Looks like a Burgie anyway. I'm curious if they were going to go for the backside, the Horn of whatever, Mabob.
I think this is just Hazard's Monument, Burgie, rummage away one of the bad cards in my hand.
All right, Liliana of the Veil down. And now you have to decide, do you play a Burgie? Do you play a Llanowar Elf? The Burgie does let you loot away the land, and it costs 1 less thanks to the treasure token and the Hazardous Monument. And now we get to loot. Burgie. Gain a life.
I think we loot away the land. Oh, we should be rummaging before we gain the life, because it's on pawn cast.
A little out of order sequencing, but probably announces everything and is just doing all the bookkeeping. Keeps the elf.
Yeah, because that could potentially get you another rummage with the monument. So I like keeping elf over the land.
Does monument trigger whenever any spells cast to rummage?
Whenever you cast a creature spell.
Ooh, nice. I thought it was only when you cast a red spell, so that's nice. That means elf is great.
All the monuments have cost reduction specific to the color, but trigger on any creature.
All right, Necromancer U. This is almost certainly going to name Grinning Ignus.
Yes.
And then none in hand, just a couple of mana creatures, and we got a long way to go to win the game now. 16 life.
If your opponent's deck is named after a single card and you're necromanting them, I would recommend naming that card.
Most of the time. I know sometimes people stone brain and they take a different thing than the named card.
Sometimes. But at least you got to look through your opponent's deck.
Well, you know who didn't look through their opponent's deck yesterday was Joshua Waddell. Thought he had it locked up. Oh yeah, he didn't have a misprint on his deck sheet today. But Josh Waddell yesterday, Stonebrain his opponent, taking all their Goryo's Vengeances, didn't even look through the deck, and then died 2 turns later to Krakenwood Cremator. That was a nice one.
That it was.
All right, so Necromancer takes all the Ignuses, and now we got to win the hard way. Daniel Ash has 4 power in play and a couple things in hand to do. See what he wants to start with. An attack for 4. Guy Johnson down to 12.
Yeah, the real question is what Guy has left. Just the Murderous Rider will do some good things. Though if Ash just plays 2 more 1/1s, you can't really attack with Murderous Rider and trade for 2 1/1s, and you can't block the Burgie, so it'll just be Daniel plunking in for 3 every turn.
All right, Tommy Osei keeping a nice pickup for Daniel Ash.
Yeah, that's very good in this fair game. You've got 1 real threat here in that Burgie, so can protect it from any spot removal spell Guide might have. And you already have plenty of protection from the various edict effects like future Liliana of the Veils because of these extra 1/1s on the battlefield.
Chooses not to play the Tingle Floor Hedron, wants to save that for when he has a dead card in hand to discard like an extra land. Wants to hold on to the Tommy of Safekeeping to protect Burgie.
So there's a Graveyard Trespasser in hand for Guide. That's a good one.
Yeah, and the Murderous Rider being a 2/3 lifelink means the smaller creatures can't attack either. That's a rankle. Oh, time to get pranking.
The Master of Pranks.
Time
I
to
think
get
I just play
pranking?
both threes this turn.
I think Guy Johnson agrees with you. Here's the Trespasser. This is going to eat something from the graveyard and gain a life.
Because ideally, you connect with Rankle with an empty hand, and then you force your opponent to discard, generate card advantage. Because I wouldn't want to have both players draw cards. I'm fine with the way this game state is. Sacking creatures is bad because your opponent's sacking 1/1s and you're sacking way better than 1/1s.
All right, here's Murderous Rider, and we're back at Daniel Ash's Way. Draws for turn. I think that was Eclectic Company, but I didn't get a great look at it. 2 mana. Another Prosperous Innkeeper. I was wrong. Okay, so we're going to gain 1 life and make a red. And then we're going to loot away Tangled Florahedron.
See if we can find Eclectic Company. We do have the mana to cast it with the red floating and the Llanowar Elves. So that is definitely that and Defilers. Like, those are your big creatures, I guess.
Yeah. Grinning Ignus makes me want to, like, look through all of Magic history or whatever and see if I can find, like, I don't know, another creature that just can return back to your hand or somehow for, like, no mana or through cost reduction. Aviary Mechanic was one that I was thinking about for a long time, right when they made the Defilers from all the colors. And 2 Aviary Mechanic plus a Defiler lets you kind of, like, bounce infinite if you have another cost reduction and a way to gain life, but...
Oddly, looks like Daniel Ash decided to keep the Tangled Florahedron in hand. I wonder if he finally got bit by his out-of-order sequencing and they didn't give him the trigger. Is the Hazoret's Monument...
Royal Day? I don't know, there's no one around really stopping him. Maybe he's just like, ah, crap, I forgot.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe he just likes having a Tangled Florahedron in hand.
All right, well, here's Rankle. We'll see how much we jam with. Seems like everybody's coming. The 2 lifelink for Murderous Rider. This is, I actually think, is a great attack. The Trespasser is going to drain a little bit, give you a little bit of a buffer. Murderous Rider is going to give you a little bit of a buffer too. I would maybe think about triple blocking the Murderous Rider if I was Daniel Ash.
Could also triple block the Trespasser and play the Safekeeping.
I kind of don't want to burn the Safekeeping until my opponent plays a removal spell, and a triple block on something would bait it, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you triple blocked and Guy Johnson passes priority, it's because he doesn't have the removal spell. So
looks like we're just gonna line up a chump block.
Single block into Safekeeping is... this is strictly worse than triple block.
Well, maybe it doesn't. So Tommy of Safekeeping doesn't give all your stuff indestructible, right? Let's get Tommy of Safekeeping.
Is it target? Yeah, it is.
It's just target creature gains indestructible, I think.
You're right,
So,
you're right.
And then you gain 2 life.
I was thinking.
As well.
I was thinking the good one, the white one they played yesterday.
Surge, yeah. Surge is crazy. That card's awesome.
Right. Okay, so this is fine, I guess. Seems like a little aggressive to use that so early, when it could protect a Burgee or let you trade in combat.
All right, and then we're going to do the Rankle trigger. Each player discards Takanuma for Guy Johnson and Tangled Florahedron for Daniel Ash. 4 mana off the top, Collected Company. Let's see what we hit. There's a Runaway Steamkin, another Burgee, Coco, Hazardous Monument, another Burgee, and a red card that I couldn't get a good look at. Looks like it's just Runaway Steamkin. We're going to put the Burgee into play just to gain extra life from the... Innkeepers, but one of them will die.
So Ash gonna head up to 19, but only adds a measly 1/1 to his battlefield. Yeah, Steam can say his play. And it looks like Guy Johnson has pretty firm control of this game at this point. With those Innkeepers, it might take a while for Guy to finish Daniel off, but I don't see how Daniel Ash gets back into this game.
Yeah, at some point, Guy Johnson can just hold back Murderous Rider to block, right? And then all the 1/1s are just ineffective, and you can still keep attacking with Rankle and the Graveyard Trespasser to put a pressure down. Now, the Innkeepers gaining a ton of life is relatively scary because at some point, maybe you just start to fall down the slippery slope. But, I don't know.
Guy can also gain life with the Murderous Rider, so you can sort of do that right back to him. So I kind of like an attack with Murderous Rider and Rankle here, leave back Trespasser.
All right, all of them are going to come in.
Let's get aggressive. You are gaining life with the Trespasser too, so
plus 3 life up to 10. And then Steamkin thinking about
I
running.
don't know about
yeah.
blocking here. The Steamkin could eventually be a 4/4, which would be very good. So
Yeah, without Ignus though, it's gonna take quite a while.
yeah, you got the Life to Spare at 18. Just go to 10.
Okay.
Go to 10.
I agree.
Daniel just got a 10.
All right, Daniel's going down to 10.
There you go.
Guy Johnson going up to 10. It's 10 to 10. Dead even. No more Ignuses in the deck for Daniel Ash. Those have been hit with Necromancer long ago. We're on the micro beatdown plan. And
it's been surprisingly effective. So now we get to decide, or a guy gets to decide if he wants to do anything with the Rankle. I wouldn't want both players to draw cards.
I actually don't mind both players draw a card in this spot simply because the bulk of the cool stuff in Daniel Ash's deck is mostly gone. It's basically just like Risen Reef is the only card that really does anything significant. But it looks like we're going to choose no abilities, and we're going to play a backup Rankle as a defensive measure. Okay. If we were going to do that, I think maybe not attacking with it and just holding back the first one to trade with the Bergie made more sense. Daniel Ash, grabbing mana quickly. 3, 4 Risen Reef. That's a good top deck. Let's hit. We get 2 life and a card off the top.
So, yeah. I was going to say we could try to stack Hazoret's different, but Hazoret's Monument is a cast trigger, so you'd prefer to Risen Reef first.
He put the land into play. He could have chosen to put it into hand and then use it later with a Hazoret's Monument to loot.
Yeah, I would like that too.
Yeah, it is a May on the Risen Reef, so just because it's a land doesn't mean you have to put it into play. And oftentimes, if you draw a Risen Reef off the top of your deck, you can play it, hit a land, and if the land enters untapped naturally, you can choose to put it in hand instead of in play from the ability, and then you get the mana untapped.
Interesting. Full on attack. I like the block on a Prosperous Innkeeper, but this is going to be 6 points going to Guy Johnson's face. He's going to fall to 4.
All right.
Yeah, and Ash, of course, up to 12 from the Risen Reef, triggering the Innkeepers earlier in the turn.
Can Rankle make you sack itself? I feel like maybe Guy Johnson missed the ability to put the sack on the stack and sack the Rankle to itself and then replay the Rankle from hand. I just noticed that.
Yeah, if he was going to play the second Rankle, you definitely would just want to have each player sack a creature. You could have gotten a 1/1 for your troubles. So you can imagine, you know, one of the 1/1s off the battlefield for Daniel and a guide would be at 5 here. And that could make a difference.
Okay, well, Guy Johnson decides to pass turn. We're going to go to nighttime, and Graveyard Trespasser becomes the Glutton. He's going to chew up the graveyard significantly in the next few turns.
The guy has finally realized that he is not winning that race and can't just wantonly attack with all his creatures on every turn.
All right, let's see if Ash has any plays here. If it's a land, it's just going to be a pass of the turn. If it's a weak thing like a Mana Accelerator, maybe just like waits a turn to try to discard a land. Oh, playing the land. Interesting. Maybe just afraid of the Rankle just hitting and make him discard it for free, but I like incentivizing your opponent to attack in this spot for sure.
Is this a removal spell?
That's a Edict.
Yeah, Children's Edict. Sacrifice a non-token creature, please.
Elf down. And back Guy Johnson's way. Could have activated Lockcoin to draw a card, but a little close to the chest there. At 4 life.
The awkward part here now for Guide is that the creatures he wants to attack with to gain life are the Glutton and the Murderous Rider. The Rider can attack into Bergie, and the Glutton you'd like to leave back to prevent the Bergie from attacking back. But it still gets in with the Glutton. Looks like only 1 creature to exile.
Oh, there's 2. I'm pretty sure.
2.
He was just like Elflorhedron or something.
Okay, so it goes up to 6. I mean, at this point, if Ash tries to attack all out, you can just block 2 1/1s and gain 2, go up to 8, take 4 down to 4,
right,
and eat the Risen Reef and the last Innkeeper.
Many of the creatures in the Grinning Ignus combo deck are much weaker without the namesake card. You know, Risen Reef doesn't have a whole lot of elementals to trigger it. Bergie getting you extra mana doesn't really matter. Runaway Steamkin getting them 1 counter or 2, not a big deal.
I think we can pretty easily just trade away the Rankle and ride Graveyard Glutton and Murderous Rider.
What do you think about double blocking? Getting 2 from the Murderous Rider and then the Rankle or the Murderous Rider trades. This is a chump block. This is a wild block to me. But the Murderous Rider is going to go back down to the bottom.
Guide going to go up to 8.
All right, and that is going to turn on a Revolt for Fatal Push, and we're going to use that to take out the Bergie. Could have used the Castle Lochthwain. Gonna go ahead and untap. Now we got Graveyard Glutton plus the Rankle. I smell an attack with both. This is gonna brain drain.
We just set up a lethal attack.
Okay.
Okay. So that makes that block make a ton of sense. Because now we get to exile 2 things with the Graveyard Glutton and bring Ash to 4. Rankle drops you to 1, and then you choose each player draws a card and loses a life.
Okay, so Graveyard Glutton eats 2 things. Gonna send Daniel Ash down to 4. Rankle gonna deal 3 down to 1. Ability, both players draw and take a damage. As long as Guy Johnson calls out the abilities and the effects, this should be game number 2 to him and going on to game 3.
Yeah, we got a little over 20 minutes on the clock, so plenty of time to finish a 3rd game in this match.
Oh yeah, and I want to see if Daniel Ash can get under Necromancer next game. That's what I want to see. So, and Daniel Ash packs it in, sees the writing on the wall. Guy Johnson wins game number 2. Mono black mid-range versus Ignus, Grinning Ignus combo. An interesting one for sure.
Yeah, there's not a ton of ways for the Grinning Ignus deck to like effectively play that mid-range plan. You saw just a bunch of 1/1s. You know, once Guide had the Burgie under control, there really wasn't much else going. Even though we did see a Collector Company get drawn, several other reasonable spells, we looted through our deck. Yeah. It's just so much air once you're unable to combo. I think that's one of the things that holds this Ignus deck back is the lack of a fair plan. Yeah. Most creature combo decks have a reasonable fair plan just by virtue of having their combo pieces be creatures.
Yeah, I mean, some of the best combo creature decks or whatever in Pioneer have been like Winota, right? And if Winota gets stripped from your deck, oftentimes, you know, it's a pretty big blow to your overarching strategy, but you have Esca's Chariot, you have, you know, Tovar's Huntmaster, things like that. And nowadays, though, like this Ignus deck for sure, just like a bunch of 2-mana 1/1s and 3-mana 1/1s with lackluster abilities without the Ignus for sure.
Yeah, now we do have those 2 copies of Nissa Stored of Elements in Daniel Ash's sideboard.
That's a cool one. That's the X one, right?
Yeah, we'll see if that one can, you know, find its way near the top of the deck, and can see it deployed here in game 3. That could do a lot of damage with that ultimate making 2 lands into 5/5 flyers. You know, a 10-point attack could kill Guy Johnson out of nowhere.
Okay, both players here are going to be drawing their opening hand for game number 3. Daniel Ash on your left with Grinning Ignus combo. Guy Johnson on your right with mono black mid-range. Let's see if they want to keep. And we're both off to the races. Carclusion Forest, the first land for Daniel. We're going to have Eternal Nelf. We're down to 19. The token that's on the table is from last game. That's a nothing burger. Guy Johnson, turn 1. Any Thoughtseize, any Fatal Push. Bang.
That's a Thoughtseize.
Take a card from your hand. Burgie, Coco, Runaway Steamkin, Tamio Safekeeping, and a land. Likely going to take the Burgie if I had to guess, but maybe afraid of the Coco down the line. Takes that instead.
Yeah, those are definitely the 2 most powerful cards, so I would imagine you want to take one of those. And it really just depends on Guide's hand. You know, another discard spell, you take the Burgie and then take the Coco next turn with the Thoughtseize. If you've got removal for the Burgie, I like taking the Coco.
Now, removal for the Burgie is an interesting thing to say because he could just like not play it next turn and do other things and then hold up Tamio's Safekeeping for it to protect it later on. A nice draw here for Daniel Ash, picks up Prosperous Innkeeper, so that's going to give him the ability to get to 1 more mana for the Collected Company next turn if he so chooses. Can use the Elf to not take damage, or he can attack and hold up Tamio's Safekeeping is the 2 choices.
I like the Innkeeper here. Develop your mana more. Now we've got Safekeeping up if we ever want it. We have 4 mana next turn for Burgie plus Safekeeping.
All right, Cabal Stronghold, another 1 mana effect. It's going to be another Thoughtseize, discard. Probably going to take Collected Company.
Yeah, that's exactly how I drew it up. If you got the other discard spell, take the Burgie first.
All right, and that Cabal Stronghold does just tap for colorless mana. It's not quite as awkward as Cabal Coffers in that way, but it takes a little bit longer to get going. You're going to see an attack for 2 from Daniel Ash. Guy Johnson getting chipped away.
Yeah, down to 13 because of those Thoughtseizes, so he's going to have to find some way to stabilize this battlefield, but any reasonable creature will do it because it's all 1/1s. Yeah, Graveyard Trespasser here would be great. Liliana, the Last Hope would be great. I think I see a Shielded in hand for next turn. That'll be great.
Takenuma the land for turn, to me that signifies perhaps no 4th land just yet. But if Guy Johnson has a 3-drop here, that could help stabilize against this ragtag group of 1/1s.
There is the Trespassers. We can exile the Burgie from the graveyard, go back up to 14. Now the battlefield is stable, and Guy Johnson looks to be in great shape.
Yeah, gonna need a big pickup here from Daniel Ash. You want to have one of your 4-drops at some point come down. Tomio Safekeeping looking worse and worse, honestly, just because the discard effects from Guy Johnson can take away some of those combo pieces preemptively, and then you're left using, you know, Tomio Safekeeping to protect like Llanowar Elves and stuff. That's not really where you want to be.
Yeah, the Thoughtseizes have been very good, and if the safekeeping was going to be good, you can just take that Thoughtseizes.
All right, here's Tingle Florhedron and another elf, so we're gonna like break even on life, gain 1 from the elf. We still have Tomio Safekeeping up off the treasure token from the Prosperous Innkeeper. 4th mana for Guy Johnson. Here comes Shieldred, the Apocalypse.
Yeah, the Apocalypse is about what Daniel Ash is facing here.
Yup. Well, the deck can do some really cool stuff. I'm rooting for like Collected Company into the kill. I don't know exactly if that can do it, but maybe it can.
Collected Company into Grinning Ignus Burgie, I think.
Gains infinite life,
yeah.
I guess. That's cool. I don't think Guy Johnson's deck can really beat infinite life.
But now, I think I see... Is that a Necromancer?
I don't know. I couldn't see.
The back of the hand? Now down to the top?
Ooh, yeah. Dominant.
I think once you have this established, you might as well just...
All right, Davriel, Rogue Shadow Mage. So Davriel is going to force Daniel Ash to discard the Tomio Safekeeping here. And now going to start taking a little bit of chip damage from having no cards in hand. We are going to go ahead and play the Tomio Safekeeping just to gain life, protecting one of our creatures, but not a huge deal.
So gain 2 from that. We're going to take 2 on the upkeep from the Davriel. We're going to take 2 on our draw step from the Shieldred.
Yep, so 4 damage a turn, pretty big deal. Davriel looking good here. I haven't seen Davriel look too good in Pioneer yet, and here though looks nice against the bunch of 1/1s from Daniel Ash.
Yeah, so we could attack down the Davriel, but that will cost you likely the Innkeeper and the it'll cost you the worst one of Innkeeper and Steamkin and one of the other 1/1s, but decides not to do that.
All right, a lot of static effects happening right now. 2 damage per turn from Davriel, 2 damage per turn from Shieldred. The Graveyard Trespasser can flip and start doing a little bit of damage on creatures from the graveyard. We got Murder Shredder, we got Necromantia, Guy Johnson, the World's Fair at his disposal, and Daniel Ash getting systematically dismantled. We'll see if he's able to top deck out of it, but if you're Guy Johnson, you're casting Necromantia, you gotta feel pretty good.
Yeah, I think the Necromancer will sort of lock Daniel Ash out of this game. Yeah, we're also at night now because Daniel Ash did not play a spell during his turn, so Graveyard Trespasser becomes a Graveyard Glutton. Doesn't make a huge impact on this game state, but gotta keep track of it.
All right.
Good mechanic.
Necromantia resolves. We're gonna get all the Grinning Ignuses, and I don't think that Daniel Ash really has a way out. Doesn't have removal spells for Shieldred. Can't really profitably attack the Davriel, and if the game is looking essentially the same as it did last game after the Necromancer resolve, but Guy Johnson has a ton of stuff already on the board that's really bad for Daniel.
Yeah, you know, I talked about the Ignus deck not having enough, powerful individual cards to play the mid-range game, but another part of that is you need to have a little bit of interaction.
Right.
You need to bring in some removal spells, be able to take the Shielded off the battlefield.
Roast or something,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's hard to, that's a really sick balancing act, right? Like,
Yeah, it is definitely tough to do, but it's something that you need to find in order to elevate your deck to top tier status. And that's what this deck is kind of missing. So, we saw it in a matchup where there wasn't much interaction last round against Selesnya Angels. Daniel Ash rolls through it. One Skyclave Apparition was not nearly enough. This matchup, won game 1 with the combo through several pieces of disruption, but unable to defeat the post-board configuration once Guy Johnson knows, okay, this is the matchup, this is what I need to do. I've got hammer cards like Necromantia out of the sideboard, and I'll just completely lock down anything Ash is going to do.
All right, so a couple things have happened. Davriel damage, Shieldred damage, Bergie drawn for the turn from Daniel Ash, but nothing of major consequence. In a turn, Guy Johnson plays a removal spell. Lenore Elves goes to the bin, a chump block on the Graveyard Glutton, and now back Guy Johnson's way, and he can rumble in for threatening lethal with both creatures and force at least one block. The Davriel also gonna deal 2, and then looks like we're gonna do some gang blocking here.
I think there's a Murderous Rider in hand for Guy Johnson, so he's baiting this group block.
Okay, we're gonna put 2 things in front of the Shielder to try to kill it, and Murderous Rider gonna blow it up. Daniel Ash, board collapses. Gonna take a bunch from everything, and then just gonna extend the hand.
Yeah,
it's over. Tap the mat. Guy Johnson, 2-1, mono black mid-range, takes it down. Well, that is all of our feature matches that we have in the feature match area right now. There's about 10 or 15 minutes left on the clock. I'm going to go see if I can wrangle up another match to bring y'all. These Pioneer rounds are fast and furious, man. People are just like out of there in no time.
Yeah, it's a 3-game match done in 30, 40 minutes. Games do not take long when you don't have to shuffle 7 times.
All right, well, we're going to see if we can get one more match for you, but if not, the turnaround time for the next round shouldn't be too long. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back for more coverage of the Pioneer 2K RCQ AIQ. In no time, we'll be right back.